And welcome back to All Day Live here on this Friday. We are glad you're spending part of your afternoon with us. Thank you. I'm Amy Hockert, and I wanted to tell you about this next guest. So he was elected to the Minnesota Senate at the age of 26, the second youngest person to do that. It was 2010. Since then, he's been reelected 4 times, spending almost 16 years in the state legislature. So why is Republican Senator Jeremy Miller not running for re-election? Well, let's ask him. Senator Miller, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Amy. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. Okay, so let's just start. Let's dive in. You're stepping aside, and I think it's fair to say that was surprising news to a lot of people. Can you tell us a little bit about why?
Well, it's time. My dad has always told me to go out on your own terms, and I feel like I'm going out on my own terms. No one is forcing me out, that's for sure. In fact, a lot of people have been a little disappointed with my decision, or they've been asking if I'm maybe thinking about running for governor or something else. But at this point, no, just stepping back for the time being. So I'm going out on my own terms, and my dad also always has said, go out when you're on top. And I've had the opportunity to work with so many great people to help accomplish so many wonderful things for people across the state of Minnesota. So I really do feel like I'm not only going out on my own terms, but going out while I'm on top.
Well, and thank you to the people for asking my next question. So you took care of that for me. So no plans to run specifically for governor or anything else right now?
No, I won't close the door on running for a public office again in the future, but at this point in time, it's time for me to step back. I have 3 young kids at home. Our twin boys are 12 years old. They just turned 12. We have a 13-year-old, almost 14 years old, and they're very involved in school, activities, sports. I have a beautiful wife at home, so it's time for me to take a step away. It's a tremendous sacrifice to be in the legislature, especially those of us from greater Minnesota. We spend a lot of time away from home, so it's time for me to be at home more, focus on my family, and be the best husband and the best father I can be. I'm also a small business owner, have multiple businesses here in Winona, and my wife and I also own and manage a number of different real estate properties as well. So we have a lot going on. We're getting pulled in a lot of different directions, and it's going to be nice to step away and focus more on family and business.
Yeah, I think you're probably the only lawmaker I've ever prepped an interview for where I got some of my content from Recycling Today magazine. So I did. I literally went and saw an article in there. So let me take you back just a second, if I could. The decision not to run again, obviously there's the professional piece of it. It's also become a very personal decision now, and I'm just curious if you don't mind sharing how much of the current political, cultural climate had to do with your decision.
It certainly played a role. My philosophy during my time in public office has been to listen and work together and focus on getting good things done for the people that I have the honor of representing here in southeastern Minnesota and people across the great state of Minnesota. And it's all really, Amy, about building relationships and working together. And I will say that during the last 15, 16 years that I've been in the Senate, each year that goes by, it gets more and more divisive. It gets more and more nasty. It's become a lot more about what's best for me, or I, me, instead of what's best for the state. How can we work together? What can we do that would be in the best interest of the people of Minnesota? So we'll continue to focus on listening and working together, but it has gotten very divisive, and the polarization in politics is getting worse, and it needs to be more about what's best for the people, what's best for the state of Minnesota, and not so much what's best for one political party or the other.
Senator, do you get the sense that maybe we've hit bottom there, that maybe we are at that point now, given the political violence, where politicians are actually going to do some soul searching and actually turn down the rhetoric? I mean, what are your thoughts on just kind of talking with some of your other colleagues, other constituents? What do you think?
I sure hope that we've hit rock bottom, only because I hope it doesn't get any worse than what it is right now. We've seen some horrific tragedies right here in Minnesota. with some of my very good friend Melissa Hortman and her husband getting assassinated, the attempted assassination of my good friend and colleague John Hoffman. And you don't want to see that here in Minnesota or anywhere else, whether it's public officials being targeted, whether it's schools or churches or places of worship or anywhere else. The violence in general, but especially the political violence, it needs to stop. There's no place for that. It's okay to disagree. We live in a democracy. It's good to have differing views and differing ideas. That's how we get to better solutions. But the violence is unacceptable, and then celebrating the violence is not only is it unacceptable, but it's just sickening, and it's very sad. The point that we're at right now. So to answer your question, I hope it doesn't get any worse. I hope this is rock bottom, and there's only room for improvement from this point forward.
You mentioned Speaker Emerita Hortman, and what a lot of people, I think, pointed out at the beginning of the session, this past session, was her ability, along with Senator Lisa Damuth from the Republican side, to really come together. And they had some really tough decisions that they had to make, including the power struggle right off the bat. Right, when you look at their examples on both sides of the aisle, and you're somebody who you've said, and I think you've shown over the years that is what your intent is as well. As we head into possibly a special session right now and into the session, how do you see that playing out? Because our memories are very short, right?
Yeah, they are. If you want to get anything done, especially in a split or divided legislature, you have to work together, and that's what we have in Minnesota right now. The House is split. The Senate is only a one-seat difference between Democrats and Republicans. So if we want to get anything done, we have to work together. Yeah, you can still be principled. You can still have different ideas. And again, bring those different ideas to the table, but let's have a respectful conversation on, number one, what is the issue? And then number two, what can we do to resolve that issue, or what solutions can we put forward to resolve that issue? And Speaker Hortman and Lisa Damuth had put forward a great example, and that's the example that we need, because we absolutely need to work together, and even more so, we need to tone down the rhetoric. Absolutely tone down the rhetoric. It's not helpful for anyone. Again, we can have those disagreements, but we need to do so in a respectful manner.
Yeah, I have to make one correction because it's going to bother me if I don't. I said Senator Lisa Damuth, Speaker Lisa Damuth in the House. Need to correct that. On the subject of toning down the rhetoric, will you be someone, as we move forward here, who will call people out, whether they're on your own party or on the other side of the aisle, when you do see that someone has crossed the line?
I'm not afraid to speak what's on my mind. I'm not afraid to call anyone out, and absolutely will. It all comes down to building relationships, being respectful, and having that constructive dialogue to work towards solutions that are best for the people of Minnesota. And if folks aren't doing that, or they're being disrespectful, I believe others should call them out on that.
Would that include, like President Trump and, others who, obviously you're in our state legislature here, but, others who may, on either side of the aisle, who may be crossing lines and stirring up, things that are not true, or, again, it happens with a lot of different politicians. I call it President Trump just because I was going to ask you about, he had tweeted, I think, something about Ilhan Omar really recently. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but saying that she should be leaving the country, that kind of thing. So when we see things like that from a president, what are your feelings as a Republican around that kind of social media fodder?
Sure. I would say to anyone and everyone, elected or not elected, we need to be respectful. I'm not sure the specific comments that you said, but we need to be respectful on both sides of the aisle. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter what the details are. People need to be respectful to one another, and if they're not being respectful, they should be called out on that.
Thank you. And our producer just reminded me, it's calling for her impeachment is what the tweet said. I want to talk a little bit about this idea of a special session around gun reform. The governor has said that this is what he wants to do, but it's my understanding that there needs to be a framework in place before he's going to call it, to make sure we're not sitting and spinning. There's a bipartisan Senate working group that's met a couple of times, but by that second meeting, those of us who've been kind of watching the couple of meetings, it seemed like from the outside looking in that they weren't making much progress, that we were kind of back to kind of the bickering and disagreements, which can be okay. But do you think there's going to be this special session?
I don't know if there will be a special session or not. If there is, I hope we can continue to have constructive bipartisan conversations around what can the solutions be. And in my mind, you have to have public safety needs to be part of that conversation. Law enforcement has gotten beat up over the years and has been put in a negative spotlight, which is very, very unfortunate, because we need to rely on law enforcement to keep our communities safe. So I think public safety needs to be part of that. Mental health resources definitely needs to be part of that conversation. School security solutions needs to be part of that solution. And then, of course, guns needs to be part of that solution. But people also need to realize that Minnesota already has some of the most strict gun laws in the country, including a red flag law that just went into effect January 1st of 2024. So we have strict gun laws in place. And if we're going to talk about any further gun laws, we need to make sure that we're protecting law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment right, while balancing and making sure that people that are here, or people that are breaking the law, people that are not allowed to have guns, shouldn't have them, or if they're mentally unstable to have them, they shouldn't have them. So that's the balance that we need to figure out. But I do think it's important for Minnesotans understand that we already have very strict gun laws in place, including a red flag law that went into effect just about a year or so ago.
Yeah, and if people, just as a resource and context, Gifford.org, as in Gabby Gifford's, that website, it gives Minnesota a B grade among the states in what we're talking about here, if you want to check that out. I think, and you know better than most of us exactly though where we are when we have Democrats calling for very specific things like banning assault weapons and high capacity magazines. They have this wave of emotion behind them, of course, after enunciation, right? And then, as you said, Republicans seem to be more focused on resources for mental health, bolstering security in schools. So it just, we kind of keep coming back to the same place, because if it was easy, we would have all figured it out by now. But what's going to have to give there, Senator?
I don't know what's going to have to give, but what I do know is if someone is breaking the law by killing someone with a gun, I'm not sure that they're not going to break the law by trying to track down a gun. But what we can do is we can get to the root cause and make sure that we have enough law enforcement professionals on the street, that we have services available for folks who are struggling with mental health issues. And perhaps equally, if not the most important thing, is that our schools have the resources they need to keep our kids safe, including school resource officers I would advocate at every school.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, because I think most people would agree that it's all of those things, right? But then how much, I guess, sacrifice from each side of this are we gonna see to actually move this forward? But thank you for weighing in on that. I just wanted to kind of close out by asking you about what you're going to be doing now, and do you think that you're going to be able to just get back into real life, and or are you going to kind of look over your shoulder, or are you going to be able to disconnect? What's that going to look like for you?
Well, Amy, there's no doubt that I will miss the legislature. It's been one of the most valuable and rewarding experiences of my life, and it is such an honor to represent the people here of southeastern Minnesota. And what I will say is I anticipate that I'll be involved at some level. I just don't know how that will be at this point in time. But I will stay plenty busy with my wife and my kids and the scrap recycling and waste business that I'm involved in, our restaurant here in downtown Winona, as well as real estate and other business ventures. So I have a lot going on. I'm not worried about not being busy, but I will still be involved one way or another in politics here in Minnesota.
Okay, I'd love to end it there, but one more thing popped in my head. Who do you think is going to defeat Governor Walz on the Republican side if you were, you know, a betting man? Who would you put your money on?
Well, I am not a betting man. I will say that I was a little surprised to see Governor Walz announce that he's seeking a third term. Minnesotans do not typically re-elect governors for a third time, but that's certainly his choice. So we will see what the people say next November. But at this point in time, I'm going to wait to see who's all in the race before I make any comments on who I think might win.
All right, fair enough. And you've got more time in the legislature. You're not going anywhere anytime soon. So we'll try to catch up with you here as things get going again. So thanks for coming on. And we just wanted to have a chance to chat with you because, again, you started so young and your trajectory for the Republican Party seemed to be going in this direction. And so I think it was, again, a surprise to a lot of people. We appreciate you spending time with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I hope you and all your watchers have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Senator. All right, take care.